Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my channel Wake Up Bright, where I share all the things that help me live each day a little brighter. I'm April Lauren and I'm on a journey to lose 200 pounds. In this video, we're gonna make some pineapple chicken, some chicken teriyaki, beef teriyaki, my bad, and then some chicken Parmesan quinoa. Let's get cooking. I don't know why this is happening. Today we are doing quinoa chicken Parmesan. I think he calls it like a bodybuilder quinoa chicken Parmesan in his video, but it is a anabolic style chicken Parmesan with quinoa. I'm surprised this actually ends up being the lowest calorie meal that we do. I think it's because it's not quite as heavy on the protein. It's still quite a bit of protein, you'll see at the end. That was all of the ingredients. This is the second time I made this. The first time I did not use the breadcrumbs. This time I did, and it was really good. I still wish I would have done it slightly differently with the breadcrumbs. I wish I would have put them on top, but I ended up putting them, you'll see, underneath. But it's so good. My husband ate all of the meals. I ate like part of one and then he ate all of the meals. So it's really, really good. I started like the directions instructed and did the quinoa first. Then I went ahead and turned the oven on. So the timeline of this video that you're watching and then how it actually happened in real life is quite different. In real life, I made all three of these recipes at one time, which sometimes, like the video last week, I do them on different days. And I actually like it better. I thought about maybe just doing like extra meal prep as I'm cooking throughout the week, but I don't always cook throughout the week and I'm about to be out of town quite a bit. So I wanted to make sure our freezer was stocked for my husband mostly. But what I did here is one of them, the beef teriyaki, requires being in the slow cooker for quite a while. The pineapple chicken, it is one of those recipes where it needs to marinate for quite a while. I think it was like 3 to 6 hours. I let it marinate for a little over 4. And then this one is just kind of plug and play. You just prepare your ingredients, you cook your ingredients, and it's done. So I like the quinoa. The easiest by far was the chicken teriyaki. And then also pretty easy was the chicken pineapple. The quinoa requires more focus, in my opinion, for a longer period of time, which is not always my strong suit. But this is the second time that I made this quinoa. And like I said, the first time, my husband ate all of them. So this time we'll see how it goes. It's actually quite low calorie, you'll see in just a minute. Normally you let the chicken cook with the tomato stuff, but like I said, paying attention is not always my strong suit. And I just went right about my business, and I had prepared the chicken earlier for this recipe when I did the chicken for the marinade. So it was just kind of out of my mind. And then, so I did it separately. And then because I'm using 2 different dishes and one of them smaller, I did 2/3 of everything in the big dish and then 1/3 of everything in the small dish. So I was just putting it together. And the way you have it in the directions is you portion it out and you do a layer, and then you portion the rest out and you do a layer of the cheese and the breadcrumbs. Now, one thing I did that I wish I would not have done, and it may not actually matter. So I mixed the breadcrumbs and the Parmesan cheese all together. And then you've got the mozzarella. So mixing that all together, at first I thought that's why my crust wasn't like the top, what didn't look crusty when it's finished. But I think it's actually because I did the mozzarella on top of that. So I wish I would have reversed that and or done the breadcrumbs separately. But it's not a lot of breadcrumbs for that size dish. This is just showing you my big mess. And I've got the beef teriyaki in the slow cooker / pressure cooker. I will link that down below. It is probably terrible, so I would find a different one. And I don't know what pricing point it is now, or even if it's still available. But if it is, I will link it below. If not, find a cheaper, better one. This is it all done. And now I'm gonna portion it out. For the other 2 dishes, I'm gonna portion them out at the end. For the other ones, I did rice. And the rice, I just watched a Simply Mander's video. So Amanda, she was on my podcast when I was doing the podcast. And she just had a video where she talked about measuring things out and the whys, like what you should measure dry or raw and then what you should measure. So I did the chicken and I did the rice dry or not cooked raw look so good, and it is as good as it looks. It's really delicious. My husband suggested maybe trying it with like some Italian sausage or something. I don't know about that, but for him, that I might do that one day, but I feel like I like this calorie point. So for everything here, it's only 372 calories, 37 with the broccoli. The fat was 4.9, and it's the same with the broccoli. And then the protein was 43.49 with the broccoli. So you've got the both calories there. And then on the left here, he has an amazing website with these recipes. So really good instructions. I'm going to link that down in the description below. And then I'm going to tag his video. I like that all of his videos are quite short and just to the point. So if you want to check that out, but the taste, they were so good. This is so good. The cost, I put $3.30-ish because I overlap some of the ingredients of some of these dishes, and some of them, it's not like you're buying ingredients just for this. It's like ingredients that will go far, far a long way for other recipes. So it was very, very filling, and it freezes quite well. And then my husband really enjoyed this. Like I said, he ate all of the meal preps. This one I ranked the highest, spoiler alert. So I gave it a 9 out of 10. It's pretty darn good. The reason I gave it the 9 out of 10 is that it's mostly for personal reasons. Because of the time of year it is, I thought that doing these slightly heavier carb recipes would be good for me. Like, I'd be fine. They're not high carb. They're like, it's like moderate. Like if you ate 3 of these meals and then just did like a veggie snacks or something, maybe some protein pudding, like you're low carb for like the day, not like keto low carb, but still lower in carbs. And my body just doesn't respond well at this time of year to extra carbs. It just increases swelling for me. So that's why the 9 out of 10, but it was really, really good. Moving on to the low carb slow cooker beef teriyaki. This one actually is a low carb recipe. Granted, I did put it with rice, so that makes it not as low carb. So they're not, like I said, it's not heavy, and I wouldn't ever eat 3 of these meals because I'm always make or breakfast. So that's up to me. So I went ahead and started the beef teriyaki by cutting up the beef and measuring it out. The packages, I should have had exactly enough to make this, but I was still almost a little light. By the time I cut the fat and everything off, I was still a few ounces down. But that works out okay. And then after I cut up all of the beef, I went straight to the onion. Normally I would be like, I don't want to cross-contaminate, but since this is all going in the slow cooker together, I'm like, it really doesn't matter. So I just went ahead and cut. And then you really won't see this in between. You really won't see this as you're watching, but as I cook each dish, I went ahead and washed everything. And that's another reason why I really enjoy meal prepping, because I do everything like streamlined. It's like I cook, but then I'm using the same things, and so then I wash them, and I still ended up at the end of the night with quite a little bit of a mess to clean up, but very efficient, very easy for me to get in a zone like this and then to just crank it out. I was going to do another meal, and I decided not to, just because of the amount of freezer space we have, and then I didn't want to do too much. So also, I've done a recipe of his before. I don't know if I've ever shared it on here, but it was like a beef pasta, and it was so good. It might have been like, I can't remember what it was called, so I'll have to look it up and share that. But this guy just has so many really good recipes that are good for everyone. If low carb teriyaki, you could do cauliflower rice with it. You could do no rice with it and just do broccoli. So yeah, it's just really, really good. Really, really good. So once I got everything all together in the slow cooker, I turned the slow cooker on and let it cook. He does have on there 6 hours. And this is where I'm talking about, like, this is a pressure cooker, and then it does all these extra things as well. This specific thing working as a slow cooker is a little intense, in my opinion. So it should have been able to cook for a really long time, but it just gets hot and everything gets really done. And I didn't want it to be way overdone. So I ended up stopping it before the time had elapsed. But here it is already portioned out. Again, I will go through some of the footage at the end of this of me portioning everything out, because I weighed all of the teriyaki and then I divided it by 5, but my husband was really hungry. So I went ahead and made him a bowl. And so we only have the 4 meal preps in front of us. But this is just such a good dish. It's really delicious. I actually made this twice, and the first time I completely ruined it because I put too much xanthium gum. I put tablespoon instead of teaspoon, so beware of that. And then when I made this, I put a little less xanthium gum than the recipe called for because we just don't like the flavor. The beef teriyaki has 352 calories by itself, 537 with the sides. And it's just one serving of jasmine rice. 7.2 carbs, 46.2 with the rice and broccoli. And then the fat is at 14.8, and it's basically the same with the sides. It doesn't really change much. And then the protein was 40 for the beef teriyaki and 49 with the sides. So really, really good. He recommended beef round steak, and that is what I used. This really was so good. This is one that was super, super easy to make. I feel like I should start rating how easy it is to make too. So maybe I'll add that next time. But tastes so good, about $4 per serving, very filling, good in the freezer, and my husband really enjoyed this as well, so that's always a win. Again, recipe is down below to go to the website, or you can do the tag to go to the video. I'll also link the video down below as well. And then this one, I ranked it a 9 out of 10, and so I just left it 9 out of 10, but really, it's like 10 out of 10. It's a 10 out of 10 dish. I think in the future I'll probably make it with cauliflower rice, but it's so good. Let's move on to the baked pineapple chicken. This is also so delicious. All of these recipes were super, super delicious. So here are the ingredients for the baked pineapple chicken marinade. And this is just so good. The pineapple is just there because I like the way it looks. And I also don't think it would have been bad to just make your own. So I think if I do this in the future, I'm going to let it marinate overnight. And I think I'm just going to use fresh pineapple. I think that will be much tastier, in my opinion. This is a sweet onion, and this recipe, it's so good. It's a really good dish. I really kind of wanted to try and make sticky rice with it, but I've literally never, ever made sticky rice, and I don't even know what that consists of. I should probably look it up and see if it has any extra ingredients, though. I'm not trying to add any extra sugar or anything to anything that I cook, but this was so good. So I did accidentally buy the rounds instead of the squares or the cut up pineapple. So I just went ahead and cut that up really quick and then moved on to putting all of the seasonings in. This kind of reminded me. So Yenna, my workout buddy from Missouri, her husband made this chicken one time, and he just did honey, soy sauce, and one other thing. I can't remember what it was. It might have just been teriyaki sauce, actually. And he put it all in a bag and let it marinate, and it was so good. He put the vegetables and stuff in a separate bag with the same marinade, and then he made kebabs, and they were so, so delicious. Anyway, so I also think I probably could have used a little bit more lemon with this. I really think the key is just letting it marinate longer, which I did not let it marinate to the top of his window. I think the top of his window was 6 hours. Like I said, I think I would like to do it overnight. And then I only had 3 pounds. So I ended up doing 6 pounds total, but I did 3 of the chicken thighs, and then I did 3 of the chicken breast. And then in the end, I just ended up mixing it all together and portioning it out. So I did add the extra calories and everything in to account for that deviation as well. So my calories and his calories are not going to line up really nice and tight here. I feel like everything lined up pretty similarly. So mine may be slightly different than his, but it's usually because I can't find lower carb ingredients. So last week, almost all of my recipes were more calories than the anabolic recipes. But this one, it's kind of on par. The chicken teriyaki was exactly the same. And yeah, so just cutting up all of the chicken here. So once I had everything all mixed up, I went ahead and put it in bags. Once I had all of the chicken and stuff cut out, I did just get a drink, but before I took the drink, I did wash my hands. And then I like to put things on a baking sheet if I'm gonna put it in the refrigerator, especially if I'm putting it in bags. These bags, I haven't found that they leak, but I have had bags leak before. And so I just like putting it on a tray or something where it's not gonna leak all over the refrigerator. I think it's a little bit more sanitary and all of the things. And this is this is the meat that I was telling you about at the beginning of this video where I forgot. So I like put this aside so that way it would be ready when I decided to do the quinoa, because everything did sit here. When I say I did it all at one time, I did it all in one day. And it wasn't a ton of time in between, but there was a little bit of time from when I put the marinade in. The beef teriyaki, this was the very first thing that I did. So I moved on from this to doing the beef teriyaki. And then once the beef teriyaki was on, I waited a few hours before I started the quinoa. And then I did the quinoa start to finish. But yeah, so once everything was done marinating, I put it in baking dishes, and then it was just a waiting game for that to be done. And while that was cooking, I did go ahead and get the rice cooking. I thought I filmed that footage, but I couldn't find it. So these little oven mitts, I will totally link down below. My sister gave them to me for my birthday. I was talking to my husband and stuff, so I'm like laughing and like things, but that's because I was talking to my husband. This is so good. I think it may look a little bit better than it actually was. Maybe not. I don't know. I shouldn't say that, because maybe you're looking at this thinking like, that looks so plain and basic, but it's so good. But I also am a chicken fan. Like, I like to make like the beef rice and broccoli, and I like plain chicken rice and broccoli. Like I enjoy that. So this may not be the dish for you, but it's really good. I would marinate it a lot longer than I did. Like I said, next time I'm going to try marinating it 24 hours. So it is 428.3 calories, 613 with the rice and the broccoli, 18.2 carbs, 572 with the sides, 8.3 fat, 11.3 with the sides, and protein was 75.6 grams, 84.6 with the sides. I made these servings so big. Like there's like 9 ounces of raw chicken, and I think it might have been like 9.6 ounces. I don't remember what it worked out to. After I cooked it, the chicken, I weighed it again and then divided it by the number of meal containers that I wanted to use. That's how I figure out the portion size. As far as ranking it, the taste, I put yum. It's just so good. And this one I did the 330 because I used overlapping ingredients. I already shared that. And so it was mostly just the cost of the meat and then the extras like the pineapple or orange. But all of that, once you break it up portionally, like by portion, it's very little. So my estimates may even be over what it actually was. But anyway, next time I will try to be a little bit more mindful when I'm ordering to get exact cost. The Hungry Meter is very filling and it froze very well, and my husband enjoyed it as well. So definitely a win. I gave this one a 9 out of 10. So portioning everything out, I just weighed the cooked ingredients. So everything was measured raw, and then I measured it again when it was cooked and then divided out by the portions that made the most sense. So in the case of the rice, I knew I had done enough to have 15 servings. And so when I portioned it out, I did enough. Like I divided the total cooked weight by 15 and then portioned it out. So that is what is happening here. So I did that for all, and both the pineapple and the teriyaki all had the same meal prep containers. And it wasn't until I was like almost done spooning everything out that I was like, oh, I usually use cauliflower rice for me, but it really doesn't matter. I'm not that strict about carbs. I just enjoy the cauliflower rice, and I'm like, well, why not? Why not have like lower carbs and more, like not necessarily more filling, but like filling food for less calories. Only like cauliflower rice though if it's mixed with something that is very light. So like when I do it with the beef, I always do like sugar-free ketchup and stuff and Cholula, and the Cholula really helps. So I don't even know if I would have enjoyed this. I feel like the teriyaki would have been very good with it, but this, even though it has like all the citrus elements and stuff, it's not quite as pungent. Is that the word I'm looking for? I don't know. So anyway, once I got everything measured out and separated out, I put in the broccoli and I just portioned it out, and I kind of just eyeballed this. So maybe there's more broccoli or maybe there's less. It really doesn't matter. And these are the meal prep containers that I used. Mostly, I think I used 2 of the other ones. So the black ones I got from Walmart, and these I just ordered on Amazon, and I will link them below. And here are all of the meals that I made, except for the one that is missing because my husband was hungry, and that's what these are for, you know. So if he's hungry, he can just go grab
go in and go, and he doesn't have to worry about cooking anything, and we're not eating out. He's not eating out, because even when we stopped eating out and I wasn't ever eating out, he still would grab stuff sometimes for lunch and things, and meal prepping just really goes a long way to helping with that. So I think I'm going to do a whole separate video probably next week on just why meal prep and how it benefits us. Even when we were buying the meal prepped meals, like, so we've done Factor and then we've done a local place here, like there are so many benefits to that. So I think it will be fun to make just a video dedicated to that. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. So this is just the one portion of the beef teriyaki. So good. Like I said, this also would have been good with cauliflower rice. This for sure would have been really good with sticky rice, but I don't know how to make sticky rice, and let me know in the comments down below if you know how. Lastly, we have the quinoa, and quinoa is just so filling. There's so much fiber in it. It's so good. I really enjoy quinoa. I feel like I've slept on quinoa most of my life, but it's just really, really good. I would recommend. And here are all of the meals. And then once I had all of the meals together, I made my labels. I actually ran out of labels. So I label everything and tucked it into our freezer. So when I make meals, I do not like to keep them in the refrigerator at all. So they pretty much go straight into the freezer. I will let them cool down just a little bit, and then I stick them in the freezer. And you can see we've gone through most of the meal preps from last week's video. We have some taquitos left. That's just because I made a ridiculous amount of taquitos. And my husband is not a fan of buffalo sauce, but he has torn up the macaroni and cheese. He really liked that one. And then he really enjoyed the fried rice. The fried rice got better with time, which is interesting. I feel like it was better after it was frozen. So weird, but that's definitely a repeat for us, the fried rice and the mac and cheese. It's really good. So if you missed that video, I will link it down below and put a tag up in the corner, and check out last week's meal prep if you want some more anabolic inspiration. If you'd like to follow along on my weight loss journey or watch more meal prep videos with me, click that subscribe button, ding the bell so you'll be notified, and I look forward to seeing you on Monday. Hope you have a wonderful weekend and hope that you do some meal prep.